Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our Talking Tuesdays. My name is Tanvi Sharma, and we are here in Delhi, and it's pretty chilly these days. So, yeah, you see me all, covered with sweaters and mufflers, and it's actually love winter weathers. Hi, Subhashini. So, welcome everyone to our Talking Tuesdays. Our topic for today is we'll actually be talking about our, second intelligence. It's part of our series that we are covering on birth wisdom. I'm just going to add Divya to this conversation, and she'll talk about the same. I hope you enjoyed our first conversation in this entire series. So, while Divya is just joining the conversation, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about this. There are 9 intelligences that Professor Howard Gardner talked about, and he called them the multiple intelligences. And we, in our conversations on My Child First, will be talking about how all these intelligences can be linked to birth, and hence we have named it as birth wisdom. So today we will be talking about spatial and visual intelligence, and here is Divya. I'm just adding her to the conversation.
So it's a coincidence that Divya's Instagram handle is the big picture, and we will be big picture of birth. Sorry, and we will also be talking about the same today as well. Hi, Divya.
Hi, Tanvi. Tell me, is this connection a good connection?
I can hear you. I can see you.
Okay, great, because you're looking a little
Okay.
pixelated, so I worry
Yeah,
whether
it's
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 mine or
breaking up a
your
little.
end. Yeah, so you're looking very pixelated to me,
It
so
is
I'm
breaking
afraid
up,
whether
Divya.
it's me. Hmm.
Same,
Okay, I'm just
same.
going to step out for a
Great on either sides. Um, and our dependency on the internet has gone up quite a bit. So can you all hear me and see me? I'm just checking if my connection is still okay. Anshika, is it still breaking? Am I audible? Am I audible to you all? Okay, great. Thank you for the feedback. Okay, yeah, Divya is here.
Okay, is this better?
Your picture's pixelating,
Well,
but we can hear you.
okay, that should be enough.
Yeah.
Mostly it stabilizes after a bit for some reason. It always happens. So here we are again with our second pathway, and we are talking about spatial visual intelligence. And usually it is talked about people who have a good sense of space and also a good sense of imagination, or they look at things through a pictorial view. But how do we want to bring it back to birth wisdom? So here are my tips for this pathway. And just before we begin with that, I'd like to say that we're not saying that this is your intelligence or not. What we are saying that here are some of the things that you can do that stimulates and invokes this pathway so that you have a really multi-dimensional experience of preparation of birth. And why do I think that is important? When we leave that preparation to be only at a cognitive level, ever think of a problem and your brain can very quickly say pros and cons. But does it give you an answer? These are the pros and cons for this option, these are the pros and cons of this option, but does it give you an answer? Because there are no absolute rights and wrongs. So it will be able to lay out a field for you, which is your cognitive part, but it will not give you place of understanding that this option works best for me. And we move into a more feeling tone for that. So we say, trusting your body or trusting your wisdom or trusting your baby is a more feeling tone. It's not an intellectual tone. If that were true, nobody who isn't well read and hasn't gotten enough education would actually be a good parent. But it's a more feeling tone. And feeling tones of the body are made by body up experiences. When you eat something and you experience the taste, then can you decide whether you like it or not. But you don't have to see whether it is good or not. So you can list cognitively the benefits of eating a particular food or a particular cuisine. But whether you like it or not, or whether it works for you or not, is a more lived, bodily, physical experience. So when we are saying birth wisdom, we are saying that despite of doing all kinds of classes, reading all kind of information, doing all kind of cognitive work of right and wrong, and we are finding ourselves more confused than we were to begin with and less confident. And so to build that confidence, we are having a more of an internal experience to say, okay, how does this particular thing fit with me? And you may be preferring one pathway more than the other. And that means that if the information or if the preparation is done along that pathway, it integrates really well. You absolutely absorb it and can use it. But if it's not along that pathway, you might find like, yeah, I know about this, but I'm not really sure how this translates. So somebody may say, I'm not good at art, or somebody may say, I'm not very good with dance, or I'm not very good with music. So that pathway may be not fully used. Can I combine? So somebody is very good at sport, but perhaps not very good at music. But if I do a dance, which is coordinated footwork with music, I am actually integrating or layering that experience in two different pathways. And what might that bring? And so this is the context why we are calling it. So you don't have to do all of it. And if you don't like to do some of it, doesn't that tell you something about yourself already? And it also eliminates, oh, I can do this in labor, but well, that doesn't really work for me. What does? So we want to concentrate on that. So spatial and visual. Spatial is about your orientation to the space around you. And I'm going to extend that to the space inside you as well. So it's not just outside, but also inside. And what does that mean? So think about the time when the baby is growing and you begin to experience some kind of discomfort. Last time we said that, don't talk about discomfort as discomfort, talk about it as adaptation. So now, as you start to orient to the space inside you, this is my uterus, this is my pelvis, above this lies my stomach, here are my intestines. Now, this uterus is growing because it's accommodating the baby. Then what happens to this part? This gets pushed here. Oh, so in this space, this is a spatial orientation within, my stomach is getting pushed towards my diaphragm and what that might translate into. So here's what I can do, but wisdom is that, oh, if I eat too much, then it'll kind of slosh all the way up here because it's already a very small place and cannot distend. Maybe I can have smaller meals. Or if the baby's up here and I'm standing, the uterus, which is now bigger, is pulling in this direction. So just simple school physics, how my body posture might change to make my center of gravity a little bit better. How am I going to spread my, how does that feel? Oh, I feel more grounded, more centered. And then look at my back. Of course, my back will get pulled with the weight. So this is the belly, and then it's grown. So of course, my back will get pulled. Can I make my back more straighter or more different? And that kind of spatial orientation inside you. And as you go looking inside, you also see the womb growing, and you orient to the baby in the space. In fact, you orient and visualize. So say you've got a kick on the right side top corner of your belly. So you are doing a spatial and visual orientation of how the baby may be lying. And what other parts can I feel? And then you can begin to not only know the baby's inside, which of course you do know with the movements, but you may also start to sense what the patterns of the movement are, how the baby may be lying, or so many other things. Starting from if I can visualize the baby inside, not like a X-ray kind of holographic figure on a scan, but in my mind's eye, then can I start a relationship with this person? I can ascribe emotions. I can kind of link myself to them. So visualization is a very, very great power, because when we think and visualize something, our body actually responds to it like it is happening right now. So imagination, visualizations are techniques that are used for preparation for sport, for optimal performance. Why cannot it not be used for imagining yourself in labor? Also, here's one for birth preparation. Imagine yourself in labor, and for a moment orient to the space around you and think what that space may look like. And what in that space can you bring three elements that will make you feel better? It could be your favorite pillow, it could be a picture of somebody you believe in, maybe even divine, and it could be who is there with me. And then you can begin to visualize what that interaction would be. So yes, you're doing a birth prep class, but you're doing your own individualization, a visual of that. And you can also visualize how I might go. So, in a birth class, say you've studied or we've talked about and you've explored some positions. And then you go home and you try out those positions. You actually sit in those positions and you start to feel, orient inside and outside, saying, oh, that's how it feels in terms of my legs, in terms of my hip, in terms of my back. But also, if I imagine myself like this, what brings me comfort? So now you're truly integrating. And then once you have that, you will not be saying, oh, but how will I know what position to take? Because you're visualizing inside how I adjust. So you did the movement last time when we did body and kinesthetic, but now we're adding yet another layer to it. And this is an example I give often because I'm a civil engineer. So when we get a set of drawings to build a house is three-dimensional, but the drawings that come, which is the structure drawing or the architectural drawing, are two-dimensional. So what we do is we lay out the basic outline. And then the structure designer sends us a drawing with structures. So we lay it on top. It is made of that transparent paper, which you can see the bottom line, but it places the different beams and columns. And then the electrical engineer might send us the electrical plans and we overlay that. And then we might get the plumbing plans and we overlay that. And then the interior designer might send us how the bedroom would look or where the furniture would be. And as we stack each of these experiences over each other, we get a fuller picture of what our house may look like. And so this is a similar example. We've done something with movement, and as we are moving and paying attention to that, we also say, oh, so here, because I have a visual of it, here's my stomach, here's my diaphragm, here are my lungs, here's my shoulders. Yeah, I'm stretching that, and what might be happening inside? So that's the visual. That's really becoming into your body. So now when I say, yeah, my body knows how to, adjust my shoulders, and I know the exercise to do when they get tight, I don't have to think I have to trust my body. I know that I can trust my body because I've been doing it. So that's one way of using your visualization. You can also start to do a vision board. A vision board is a great way of imagining or sending out a clear intention, holding that intention really in front of you as a focus of what you want. And that vision board may not be of labor. It may be scenes of how you and the baby will bond post birth. And then, holding that in mind, that may be an entirely different plan, especially for a mom who's having a challenging pregnancy, I beg your pardon,
Pregnancy.
uh, pregnancy, or a mom who's a high risk and is looking at not so mainstream outcomes, which is like a normal vaginal birth. How would you want to then use that to find a counterpoint of view that, yes, even though I may have to act in a certain way during labor and birth, or I may have to have a certain intervention, I can still have a wonderful vision of what it would mean to be a mother, roles I may take. You may also do a vision board about babies and what they know. So, what can they see? What can they do? What do they need from you? And start to imagine that mothering paradigm. So, that's another visualization you can do. Women who feel fear. You might want to do a nice visualization of your sacred place. This is a place where I know I'm protected. I'm not purposely using the word safety because safety may mean many things for many people, and some people might even find it difficult to feel safe because that may not have been their experiences. So think of a sacred place. Imagine how you might put a protective bubble around you and allow that inner wisdom to show you, or allow yourself to experience or go into and say, what might I need in terms of a voice, in terms of a need, vocalizing a need to a partner, to a family member, to a care provider that might help me feel safe in this place, knowing that in this visualization, I'm in control. Sometimes that can open up an insight, especially around fear and safety, because when we don't feel safe and we are fearful, lots of people imagine that we can actually do things that somebody with lesser fear can do. But neurobiology clearly tells us that in fear paradigms, in places where we don't feel safe, we do not have access to that capacity. The capacity is there, but we do not have access to capacity. And then, unfortunately, there is a whole narrative about valorizing that capacity. Oh, why didn't you speak up? Or why didn't you do this? And why didn't you say so? Well, it's not something I did voluntarily. Because in a fear paradigm, I don't know, I'm paralyzed. It's almost like a deer caught in a headlight. And does the deer know how to run? Yes, of course. But in that moment, because of the circumstances caught in that headlight, they lose the access to that capacity. So a lot of us who are a little bit more anxious, who are feeling a little isolated, who may not have or have an experience of speaking up before, this can be very overwhelming for us. And one of the pathways we choose to feel safe is called tend and befriend, which means we are actually agreeing with the other person just to make sure that there is no conflict around, which again puts us at a disadvantage. So it's not something that we are doing. It's just the deck of the hand that we have of these cards are not working in a way that our capacity can be explored. But in a safe space visualization, we can. And then we take insights from there and write them down. And we start to negotiate with the world, which could be another pathway when we talk about, how we can speak. Linguistic, we will bring it there. But here is the start of that. So that kind of journaling will help. What might also help is to do a birth art project. So a birth art project could be towards birth, and PAM England has fabulous resources around this. Many of us do. Recently, remember, we did a labyrinth class as well. So you could do a birth art project, or you could do a project in terms of, say, doing the baby's room, or organizing your own room layout so that the baby is sharing the room with you. So how will I set it up? Again, spatial and visual intelligence. So there are so many different ways that you can actually bring in this intelligence and start to work. And so I'd really like to do a very short visualizing exercise, if I may. because it just gives you an insight what it might do. Here's another visualization that you can do. So if somebody is worried about, is the baby getting enough, is my baby growing, visualize the cord and the placenta. Do an art around the placenta which says how this is like a tree of life and it's nourishing the baby. So imagine how the tree is taking in the nourishment from its roots, which is the little tentacles that it's put into the mother's body. And then, kind of taking it in and passing it to the baby and then having a communication with the baby. There is so much beautiful visual work that you could do. If you don't want to do it yourself, look out for birth art jewelry. These days you can do so much. You can just kind of make a little, we call it a seed. I have a few which are done in clay, and they are called the Gaia seeds, the Mother Earth seeds. So you could do a little molding of a say, clay, and then put a bead to it and wear it. That could be one of them. You could look at creating or sculpt, so many different visual and artistic and creative things that give you a point of focus to the baby, bringing you in relationship with yourself in a more visual way. And we are highly visual people. I mean, we've taken the world with our eyes. What you also want to appreciate is that the baby inside has very limited field of vision, but they come out ready to see. So what's going on there? So, their visual cortex is still processing visual stimuli, and it could be that we find that babies in utero have a lot of REM movement in their eyes, which means they are visualizing, they are seeing something in their dreams that is helping them develop their visual cortex. So their brain is getting ready to see before the eyes are actually taking in input. And if they can do this, so can we. So that is why imagination and dreams, you can write a dream journal. You can also set an intention before going to bed to dream. You can also think of dream as saying, okay, something is going on with me which I'm not quite sure of, but I have an intention that my own wisdom will show me as I dream. And then you might have a dream, and then you could journal it and find meaning in it. I want to say something here which says, we say that we may be going through a lot of stuff, but it's a very subjective process to give it meaning. And our life is just about constructing that meaning. No matter what we take from the world, there is a sacred part of us, individual part of us, unhurt part of us that will offer context to that experience from which we will build it. So people may have the same trip, but their memory of that trip may be completely different. Because memory is not constructed by reality. Memory is constructed by how our mind brings meaning and builds on that experience. So by stimulating this visual spatial pathway, we find our place in the world. Spatial orientation would mean this is my space in the world in relation to outside and in relation to inside. You could do it with a focus on the spine, but you can also do it with a focus on the heart chakra, which is called, which literally translates to a place of unhurt. It cannot be hurt. So there's this tiny sacred place inside of you. And then inside you visualize that sacred place. And from that space, you can find your safety. And from that safety, you can build your resources, and those resources are your birth preparation. And you can translate them into visuals, and from the visuals into a more cognitive place. So we are not going from preparing from here to the body, but preparing right here out into the world. And the baby is very much a part of that. So, very quick visualization, so to speak. And I'd like to do it really with the physical body, and I want to tie it in with what I did last time as a movement, becoming as an awareness. For those of you who are familiar with body work, this is somatic work. Somatic, soma means body. So we are bringing the birth really into the realm of the body as a preparation rather than just the mind or intellect. But we're using a whole brain process because we're bringing in intellect and meaning, which is the more spiritual or the existence part of us, and the physicality together. So whoever is hearing now and may listen to this recording in the future, welcome. And here is a sense of your own body through visualization. So I'd like you to close your eyes if that's comfortable for you, or you can look down at a singular focus, preferably looking low, and make sure that your chin is parallel to the ground. And however you're experiencing this, sitting, standing, lying down is fine. Getting a sense, you might even want to shrug your shoulders a little bit up and down just to get a sense of it. But it'll also give you an orientation of your shoulders in relation to your neck as they come up and how they might feel. And as you relax them down, how that might feel. And that's a little bit of a spatial orientation. And as they move up, how does it feel? Oh, they're a little bit tight. And as I feel them tight, is there something that I think? Is there a thought? Is there a feeling? And then very deliberately, as I relax them back down, and now their distance from the neck and the jaw, which is space, does something change within me? And we're going to take some time with it because we want to engage a more feeling tone rather than a more thinking tone. And in my mind's eye, and for you in your mind's eye, imagine that you're feeling really relaxed. One of those moments, it could be from experience or it could be just imaginary, where you're completely at peace and in sync with everything. Maybe you've heard a news that you were waiting for and it's positive. There could be an element of joy, but it also could be neutral. It's that moment of the day where there is really no agenda in your head. And in your mind's eye, I'd like you to imagine how your shoulders are when you're experiencing that moment. Take your time to refine that image. You could be outside or inside the house. What is the temperature like? What are the sounds around you? If there's a context, think about that. And in your mind, you're paying attention how your shoulders are or would feel when you are that relaxed. Love. Now I want you to open your eyes and pay attention to your shoulders again. Deliberately relaxing them. And you'll find that that range that you could relax your shoulders early to has improved or increased because you have visualized them in that really relaxed state. This is how powerful your visualization can be for you. For those of you who've really felt it, great. For those of you who haven't felt like, oh, I imagine them more, but not now, pause and say, and what might I need to arrive there? And wisdom will arise for you even if it's not achieving that result, we still have an insight or a pathway to our bodily wisdom. And that might be a great way to experience different emotions in the safety of, if I feel this way, what happens in my body? And very specific orientation to shoulders, to diaphragm, which is the place which moves up, the big muscle that moves up and down as you breathe, or breath awareness. So an orientation to a space inside you. And then visualizing how it would feel in a more comfortable or a relatively more comfortable position. Then coming back to the the real time and saying, okay, can I bring those states in me? And how you might use it in labor is that at some point you might get anxious and you might be practicing this relaxation visualization. You can go there like this because many of your neural pathways have done this over and over and over again. So that's preparation and actually bringing in your own uh, rebirth wisdom, your body wisdom, your insight to work for you. So that's what I have.
Great. I think the visualization, exercise was just fabulous, and I really hope that more people are able to see it. I'm going to give a shout out again, on our Insta handle so that we can reach out to more people who can view it for later. So yes, it was I think a great topic today, visualization. In fact, we just did, like Divya mentioned, we just did one, art workshop last week, and we will be bringing in more. So in case you wish to attend any of those, just let us know, and we'll be, happy to have you there. So thank you everybody for attending our session
There was a
today. It was
comment.
great.
There was a comment about how we are told to bring the baby pictures in our
Correct.
room. So there's a reason for it. When we look at this baby picture, babies' faces are designed to bring out that expression of love and connection in us. It's called attachment connections. And when we look at them, we feel those. Those are encoded in us. It's an interesting thing to say because that's also spatial and visual. So you added something to your space in orientation and a visual. And when we look at it and we feel that maternal love, our bodies produce those hormones, and our babies in utero are bathed. Well, I will go as far as saying marinated in our love hormones that may be evoked by the image of that little baby that we had put on the wall. And I think that may have been the wisdom of people saying that, when you're pregnant, put these baby pictures in your room, and they're really cute. But
Yeah,
I think it's that
beautiful.
response that comes up. Just want
Wow.
to acknowledge that little message that came.
Yes, yes. So, thank you everybody for joining us this afternoon, and we will see you next Tuesday with another intelligence that we will be talking about. So, thank you so much for
Oh,
attending our session.
I wanted to check in with you. Next is the 26th.
Not next Tuesday because it's the 26th January. So we are kind
We
of
are
taking a
taking a
break as
break.
well. And so we will see you next week. This is the first Tuesday that we will be skipping, and we'll miss you all.
Yes, we will.
So thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye-bye.